Patrick Whitell's reputation was carved out through Hollywood's most influential and high-stakes deals. From multi-million-dollar contracts to high-profile blockbuster negotiations, he thrived in securing quiet yet game-changing boardroom victories. These triumphs, though rarely splashed across magazine covers, shaped the very direction of the film industry. Whitell was the man behind the curtain, the power broker who finalized handshakes that redefined Hollywood's future. Yet there was one chapter of his life he consistently avoided: his private world, particularly his turbulent marriage to Lauren Sanchez. That silence shattered in 2019 when Lauren's highly publicized romance with billionaire Jeff Bezos erupted. Suddenly, their marriage's collapse played out in public, complete with leaked intimate messages and relentless paparazzi swarming her every move, even in airports. Was it mere coincidence or a perfectly timed strategy? Patrick's decision to finally speak came just as Lauren was stepping into global spotlight as Jeff Bezos' fiancée. To make sense of this, we need to rewind years before the tabloids erupted. Patrick Whitell and Lauren Sanchez were both fiercely ambitious, carving paths on opposite sides of the entertainment world. Patrick, born in Iowa, didn't grow up surrounded by Hollywood privilege. Instead, he built his empire brick by brick, powered by relentless determination and sharp strategy. By the time he turned 40, he had risen to the rank of a Hollywood super agent, a man whose name carried weight long before he entered the room. His clients resembled a red carpet guest list, and his uncanny skill at sealing deals others deemed impossible earned him something rarer than wealth: profound respect in an industry where reputation can matter more than money. Lauren's journey followed a different yet equally ambitious trajectory. Born in Albuquerque, New Mexico, her drive and determination were evident early on. She began humbly, working as a news desk assistant at a small local television station, learning the ropes behind the scenes. With persistence, she climbed step by step until she earned her place as an on-air anchor. By her late 20s, Lauren was reporting for Extra, covering the hottest celebrity scandals and exclusive stories. It was there she refined her charisma, mastering a camera presence that soon became her signature and attracted Hollywood's attention. In the early 2000s, her world intersected with Patrick's at elite Los Angeles gatherings, where industry power players mingled. Friends recall how Patrick, normally guarded and all business, was immediately captivated by Lauren's charm and wit. She, in turn, admired his intellect and the rare respect he showed her beyond appearances. To outsiders, they seemed like the perfect, almost cinematic couple. Patrick contributed sharp business instincts, a powerful network of elite connections, and the steady leadership that made him indispensable in Hollywood. Lauren, on the other hand, brought magnetic charisma, media expertise, and the spotlight of public recognition. Together, they became a polished couple, often seen at high-profile charity galas, glittering movie premieres, and exclusive dinners where multi-million-dollar deals were sealed over cocktails. Yet, behind the glamorous photographs, reality was far less simple. Patrick's career demanded endless hours, international flights, and constant crisis management to protect his high-profile clients. Lauren endured a different strain, navigating the unforgiving world of media, where one wrong move could erase years of progress. In the early days, they managed to balance it. Friends recall intimate dinners at their Beverly Hills home, Lauren bringing warmth and laughter, Patrick contributing sharp industry tales. They functioned as a team, but ironically, the very traits that attracted them, his relentless discipline and her vibrant charisma, eventually became the same forces that tore them apart. As both of their careers accelerated and the public spotlight pressed harder, subtle but undeniable cracks began to show in their relationship. In Hollywood, gossip is its own form of currency, trading faster than film contracts and often carrying little regard for truth. For Patrick and Lauren, it began quietly, with whispers that grew louder over time. Observers noticed small shifts. The couple, once inseparable on red carpets, now attended premieres and galas alone.
What friends dismissed as conflicting schedules soon appeared to be something deeper. Behind closed doors, Patrick grew increasingly private and withdrawn when asked about his marriage. Lauren, in stark contrast, amplified her public presence, dazzling at high-profile events, but noticeably without her wedding ring. By the mid-2000s, what began as idle speculation had transformed into heavy rumors and persistent suspicions that their once glamorous partnership was unraveling.
People began to whisper questions that soon turned into louder speculation. Was the marriage collapsing? Had a third person entered the picture? Or were their demanding careers simply impossible to balance? Then came a moment that fueled the fire. Lauren was seen at an exclusive Los Angeles club, engaged in what witnesses described as a private and intimate exchange with a mysterious man. Onlookers were called hushed tones, knowing smiles, and gestures that hinted at something more than casual conversation. Suddenly, the whispers transformed into pointed gossip. And then, the ultimate revelation shattered any doubt. By early 2019, speculation erupted into explosive headlines. Tabloids splashed leaked text messages and intimate photos across their front pages. Lauren Sanchez's secret romance with Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, was now public knowledge. Overnight, years of hushed Hollywood chatter crystallized into undeniable fact. The messages, brimming with passion and intimacy, revealed a relationship that had quietly been unfolding for months before the world found out.
The tabloids seized the story with relentless force, fanning the scandal into a full-blown global conflagration. And Patrick, he chose a path almost unheard of in Hollywood. He said nothing. To outsiders, his silence might have looked like retreat, but those who truly understood him recognized it as calculated strategy. A veteran negotiator among Hollywood's power brokers, Patrick knew that silence could be more powerful than words. He allowed the frenzy to rage and eventually consume itself, refusing to fuel it with impulsive remarks. Meanwhile, the world couldn't look away. Paparazzi trailed Lauren's every move, elevating her overnight from a television personality to the focal point of one of the century's most sensational romances. The involvement of Jeff Bezos, the richest man alive, escalated the scandal beyond entertainment pages into a global phenomenon. Yet, amid the chaos and flashing cameras, a crucial truth about Patrick's perspective and his marriage remained hidden in the shadows.
What the headlines rarely mentioned was that Patrick and Lauren's marriage had already unraveled by then. Legal proceedings had quietly begun months before the scandal with Bezos ever surfaced. Court records confirmed they were separated long before the tabloids made it appear as if Bezos had caused the collapse. Still, this critical detail was drowned out by the media frenzy. Friends recall Patrick handling those turbulent days with striking composure. He focused on his clients, honoring contracts and keeping business running smoothly. No bitter statements, no cryptic posts, no televised blame games. His restraint was a sharp contrast to Hollywood's usual theatrics. Lauren, meanwhile, threw herself into her new chapter with signature boldness. Her relationship with Bezos accelerated quickly, moving from whispers to public acknowledgement. Soon the couple was photographed side by side at elite gatherings, spotted vacationing on opulent yachts, and gracing events so exclusive that most people only ever glimpsed them in glossy magazine spreads. The contrast between their post-marriage lives could not have been more striking. Lauren's world grew louder, brighter, and more glamorous, with her every move spotlighted by the media. Patrick's existence, however, moved in the opposite direction. He remained deliberately private, keeping his focus squarely on his professional commitments and shielding his personal life from unnecessary exposure. By the end of 2019, their divorce was quietly finalized, almost unnoticed compared to the frenzy that had preceded it. Still, the two preserved a respectful co-parenting arrangement, prioritizing stability for their children. Then the tone shifted. After years of maintaining unbroken silence, Patrick made a startling choice. He would finally speak.
No glittering stage, no orchestrated press spectacle, just a measured, professional interview, one centered not on scandal, but on his career, his choices, and the realities of stepping into the public eye on his own terms. When the interview inevitably turned to the subject of divorce, Patrick did not sidestep the issue as he had so many times before. Instead, he confirmed what many had quietly suspected when Lauren's romance with Bezos burst into the spotlight. His marriage had already ended months earlier. Patrick explained that the separation was not triggered by one dramatic event, but was instead the outcome of a gradual process, a slow realization that he and Lauren had grown apart. He avoided naming causes or pointing fingers, no accusations, no bitterness. But he did directly confront one widespread misconception, the idea that Bezos' sudden involvement blindsided him. That's simply not true, Patrick clarified. He had already accepted that his marriage was over long before the headlines broke. His tone was calm, measured, and strikingly free of anger, almost as if he had long since made peace with the truth. If anything, Patrick's remarks felt like a quiet form of closure. His statement was never about salvaging an image or rewriting history. It was simply to put lingering speculation to rest. With unexpected grace, he even extended his well wishes to Lauren, acknowledging that she had found a life that suited her path. What made Patrick's words so striking was how unlike a typical Hollywood scandal they were. There were no shocking revelations, no public outbursts of blame, only a carefully measured acknowledgement, a restrained and almost understated statement, yet one that carried immense weight. Still, in Hollywood, timing is everything. Patrick chose to speak now, just as Lauren steps into her most visible role yet, as Jeff Bezos' fiancée. The decision raises questions. Was this purely personal, the act of a man closing a painful chapter, or a calculated move to ensure his voice remains in the narrative before Lauren's next chapter dominates the global spotlight? Whatever the motivation, one thing is undeniable: Patrick has finally claimed his place in the story. Patrick's narrative dismantled the popular image of a betrayed, blindsided husband. Instead, it reframed him as a man who managed to remain composed, dignified, and firmly in control, even in one of life's most difficult chapters. Was this genuine closure, or a carefully orchestrated exercise in image management? That remains for the public to decide. Still, his approach stood in sharp contrast to the messy theatrics that so often accompany Hollywood divorces. There were no harsh accusations, no bitter exchanges, no desperate attempts to reclaim headlines. Just a calm, restrained, yet quietly powerful statement designed to correct years of distortion. In a world where social media magnifies every rumor into instant judgment, Patrick's slow, deliberate response became almost a lesson in strategy and patience. The entertainment world, accustomed to combative press releases and damaging feuds, was reminded that sometimes influence comes not from speaking louder, but from knowing exactly when and how to speak. Patrick, once again, proved himself different. Patrick's long silence, followed by his unexpectedly calm words, demonstrated that it is possible to reclaim a narrative without descending into the mud of public spectacle. But the question lingers: was this his final word on the subject, or simply one contribution to a story that continues to evolve? What is certain is that the man who once resisted public drama finally spoke, offering nuance that cut deeper than the simplistic headlines of betrayal and scandal. To fully grasp Patrick and Lauren's story, one must also understand the deeper forces at play in Hollywood. Here, marriages and relationships are not always just about romance. They often function as strategic alliances. The entertainment industry thrives on an intricate web of influence, where agents like Patrick wield power far beyond negotiating contracts. At Endeavor, Patrick occupied a pivotal seat, orchestrating multi-million-dollar deals, guiding careers, and shaping outcomes that rippled through the very fabric of Hollywood itself. Patrick's client roster stretched across Hollywood's upper echelon: actors, directors, musicians, individuals whose choices could determine the success or failure of multi-million-dollar projects. To hold such a position meant operating under unrelenting pressure, constantly strategizing in ways that most ordinary couples could never comprehend. For Patrick's world, public appearances weren't simply social events. Each one was a calculated performance, a statement of power, a move in a fragile hierarchy where even a small misstep could damage reputations or derail careers. Lauren faced a similar dynamic. As a television personality, her professional value was directly tied to her ability to cultivate and protect her image in the spotlight. But she wasn't just about red carpets. Her aviation venture, Black Ops Aviation, went far beyond glamour. It required heavy financial investment, specialized training, and careful alliances with major production houses. Both Patrick and Lauren thrived in demanding but radically different arenas. And while their careers created extraordinary opportunities, those same pressures and expectations inevitably planted the seeds of tension between them.
Patrick's influence could bolster Lauren's television career, just as her charisma and visibility could elevate his profile within Hollywood's elite. Yet this interdependence came with a hidden risk. Any personal conflict had the potential to spill into their professional lives, creating ripples neither could fully control. The circles they navigated were anything but ordinary. These were not simple parties thrown by the wealthy. They were carefully constructed networks governed by unspoken rules and intricate hierarchies that outsiders rarely understood. Within these exclusive rooms, billion-dollar ventures were floated casually over cocktails, and a single introduction could alter the trajectory of a career. Conversely, one social misstep could haunt reputations for years. Among these stages, charity galas held a unique role. They weren't only glamorous showcases of generosity, but also discreet arenas where strategic alliances were forged, secret deals were whispered, and influence was silently measured.
These high-profile gatherings functioned on several levels at once. On the surface, they allowed the wealthy to showcase their generosity and social standing. Beneath that veneer, however, they provided fertile ground for networking, influence building, and the careful cultivation of personal brands. To move through these events successfully demanded far more than charm. It required precision, strategy, and a finely tuned awareness that few couples could truly master. Attendees needed to know not just who was present, but why they were there, what unspoken goals they carried, and how fragile lines between personal relationships and professional ambitions might overlap. A casual remark about a holiday could actually mask a negotiation over film financing. A lighthearted comment about charity might lay the groundwork for a multi-million-dollar business alliance. For Patrick and Lauren, such evenings presented both glittering opportunities and complex challenges, occasions where one miscalculated step could redefine careers, but also where a single well-played move could secure immense influence.
Together, Patrick and Lauren possessed a magnetism that made them prized additions to any guest list, their presence capable of drawing other powerful figures into the room. Yet with that influence came immense pressure. They were expected to project unity, success, and perfection, no matter what tensions simmered in private. What should have been evenings of glamour often became exhausting performances, staged for the cameras and the industry's watchful eyes. Behind the flashbulbs and champagne toasts, their marriage bore the weight of this constant scrutiny. Every smile, every gesture, every exchanged glance was studied like a coded message. Photographers, journalists, and fellow insiders dissected body language with forensic precision, searching for cracks in the facade. In Hollywood's elite circles, there were always people whose careers thrived on detecting hidden conflicts, exaggerating rumors, and transforming the slightest hint of discord into front-page drama.
The rise and fall of Patrick and Lauren's relationship unfolded against the backdrop of a rapidly changing media landscape. Social media was exploding, smartphones equipped with high-resolution cameras had become ubiquitous, and new forms of digital entertainment journalism were emerging almost overnight. Together, these forces created an atmosphere where privacy as it once existed was virtually erased.
In earlier decades, Hollywood operated under a set of unwritten rules. Reporters and celebrities had a tacit understanding. Certain aspects of personal life were off limits, while others were fair game. Those fragile boundaries allowed public figures to preserve some separation between their professional image and private realities. But in this new era, those lines dissolved. And for couples like Patrick and Lauren, every moment risked becoming public property. The digital media boom shattered whatever fragile agreements once existed between celebrities and the press. New outlets valued speed, shock, and viral appeal over any notion of discretion. Bloggers, influencers, and so-called citizen journalists operated outside the old playbook with no sense of duty to protect privacy. What had once been Hollywood's safe zone simply vanished. The rise of smartphones with crystal-clear cameras transformed ordinary bystanders into paparazzi. One snap, one upload, and an image could circle the globe within minutes. This shift made it nearly impossible for high-profile couples to enjoy a private moment. Even in supposed sanctuaries, exclusive resorts, private dinners, airports, the watchful eyes of technology were always present. And on top of it all, social media amplified the pressure, turning every candid shot, every rumor into instant public judgment.
The digital shift created an unspoken demand for public figures, constant visibility. Fans expected personal updates, relationship milestones, candid behind-the-scenes moments, as though they were entitled to peek inside private lives. Yet these glimpses, instead of controlling the narrative, only multiplied the opportunities for gossip, distortion, and relentless judgment. For Patrick and Lauren, this meant they weren't just being observed by close friends or professional peers, but by millions of strangers across the globe. Each photo, each red carpet appearance, each Instagram post became dissected evidence, a so-called proof of whether their marriage was thriving or collapsing. Against this backdrop, Patrick's silence was more than personal restraint. It was a deliberate strategy, a refusal to feed the machine that thrived on noise and drama. In an age where oversharing was the default, his decision to withhold was its own radical statement. It was a strategy, sharpened by years in the trenches of Hollywood's image wars. Patrick understood a golden rule. The quicker you react, the longer the scandal survives. A heated denial, a sharp retort, even a single defensive sentence, these don't bury a story, they multiply it. Each word becomes fodder for endless commentary, dissected by columnists, recycled by tabloids, and magnified by social media into 1,000 interpretations. Patrick refused to step into that trap. No quotes, no angry interviews, no late-night tweets. By withholding the one element the press craved most, the raw, emotional outrage of a betrayed husband, he suffocated the scandal at its most vulnerable point. Journalists who had prepared the feast on his reaction were left empty-handed, forced to chase fragments elsewhere. Deprived of his voice, the story burned brightly but briefly, lacking the fuel that might have kept it alive for years.